So a good supply partner is obviously looking for a good price, always looking for a good price. But what you're looking for is their quality controls that ensure when they supply that product you're looking for, they're supplying the same product each time. You want them to be demonstrate that they have the quality assurances in place from one end of the supply chain to the other.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, live from London, day one of International Bulk Wine and Spirit Show. I have here master distiller, who's seen the world, who's made so many whiskeys, Ron Welsh. I really appreciate you coming in, by the way, and I personally am inspired by your wisdom and your experience. So we're going to share this with our audience, right?
Okay.
I think the subject is bulk spirits and bulk buying. So when you're, pretty much you've had to because you're a big brand, right? So what do you look for in your quality control process to ensure the bulk spirits, buying process is set?
So when you set up your purchase with your supplier, you talk to the supplier, you ask them what their consistency levels are when they're producing. So if it's new make spirit for the whisky industry, then they will say, well, we have very little variance. They'll be able to give you a gold standard sample, which is a sample of their spirit, which they expect no deviation from during their production.
Understood.
When they're supplying it.
Understood. So let's say an 80% for sure product, like this is the minimum 80% you will get in this product, and rest can be, obviously we understand that it can deviate a little bit.
And it would be more like 90-95%.
All right.
And then that 5% there might be a subtle difference.
Understood.
And if you are way different from that gold standard, there's an off note in the supply tanker, then you have every right to return it to the
So
supplier.
this may be a basic question, but just for normal, even bartenders to understand this, right? Yeah. So then you have that gold standard and then you use it at every touch points to make sure, like let's say a tanker came in or getting exported or at the port, like do you actually batch and then?
So we have gold standards for the production process at the beginning of whisky making, and we have gold standards for the final product as well. So we have a gold standard which, if we have a number of different production facilities, such as we have with Teachers, so Teachers is bottled in Scotland, it's bottled in India, and it's bottled in Japan. It used to be bottled in Brazil and bottled in Argentina. And each of those locations have a gold standard as well, so that they can match the batch that comes in when they receive it as bulk and say, yes, that matches our standard, it hasn't deteriorated in transit. And then when they produce the bottle, having reduced it, coloured it, filtered it, then they can check it against the gold standard and say it matches that gold standard.
Okay. How does the RFP process, or do you yourself go out and scout the supply, or there is a tender process, or how does this whole, how do the suppliers know what are you looking for? How do they bid? How does the process work?
So the process as a customer is that you go to suppliers, you tell them what style of spirit you want, what age you want, if it's mature spirit, and they will then try and source that for you. And they'll offer up a number of different samples of their products, and you'll check that against what you're looking for. And it might be that it could be made as part of a recipe, in which case you would accept that and say, make an agreement on the volume that you want, and then you would take that through.
So apart from the quality and the standard, right, what are other likability, with other characteristics you look for in a good supply partner for bulk spirits?
Yeah. So a good supply partner is obviously looking for a good price, always looking for a good price, but what you're looking for is their quality controls that ensure when they supply that product you're looking for, they're supplying the same product each time. You want them to be demonstrate that they have the quality assurances in place from one end of the supply chain to the other.
So I'm reading that one of the main reasons you would change a supplier is they started deviating from the quality.
Absolutely.
And then price maybe.
Deviating from quality, price can change.
How often this kind of things happen where, okay, you can only, let's say teachers, solid demand came, but obviously your current supplier cannot just fill your current demand. So you go to another B, C, D.
Yep.
But then, maybe they don't like it. Maybe you just then moved on. How much of this, or maybe there are some temporary contracts and there are some long-term contracts. How does this short-term demands and filling that gap work?
Short-term demands as a whiskey blender, you should be able to take from your own stock. You have your own inventory to pull from. But if that's not enough, and that was the case in 2011 for teachers, demand was really high in 1 year, and we had to purchase stock from other whisky companies who, because the whisky industry in Scotland is works well in the primary production side, they exchange new make spirit between the companies, then part of the recipe for teachers will have other styles of whisky in it anyway, and you can go to those suppliers and not buy new make spirit, but buy the 4 or 5 year old that you've been looking for.
Nice. Just for a lot of master distillers or even like young distillers trying to get into the business, learning, any words of wisdom on what are some of the things that have kept you motivated for like 30 years and always keen to learn? Like what keeps you going? How did you just manage that?
It's for my inspiration is learning. I always want to know more about a product, about everything, and if I'm not learning, then I'm not moving forward, and that's what's driving me. Is that each day I'm going to learn something new. So I'll sit in at the conference here and listen to other people talking about bulk movements, about containers, about stuff that I have no real influence on, but will allow me to learn more about the industry, allow me to be able to impart more information to people.
And how did you measure yourself? Like, if you had to hire yourself, let's say, and you were just doing one-to-one, what are the 4 or 5 things? Like, did company sales also matter? Because it was ultimately you are making that product. Versus, let's say, you want the best whiskey, that sort of thing gets you high, or just like consistency.
I think consistency, the creation of new expressions that are appreciated by consumers is just wonderful to see a consumer drink a product that I've created and just enjoy it, and that drives me as well. But
I heard your talk that you are very good at consumer listening. So you want to make sure you adapt and the flavor profiles keep changing. Absolutely. I think that's one of the key points there as well.
You need to listen to your customer. You can't just go, oh, I know better than him. I'm a master blender, but I don't know what a customer wants. So I think I know what he wants.
Understood.
And I try and give him it.
On that last one, on double clicking on that, basically, like if you were hiring your next legacy, let's say, to continue, or even someone in your team, what are some of the questions you ask, like in an interview process?
An interview process, you're looking at their knowledge of whiskey, their ability to manipulate large volumes of data. You need to be able to look at the inventory you have, and Beam Suntory had coming up for 1 million casks in Scotland, and look at that inventory and make quick decisions as to what can be done with that inventory if there's a change, a sea change in consumers' needs and wants, or where markets are changing and you want to be able to change the expressions that you're creating.
True. I can't not talk about tequila and mezcal. You know, so what's your take on RTD, tequila, mezcal? Quick fun thing. You think it's the whiskeys are going to come? This, obviously, you are pro Scotch, and you know, but you think that, or we are having a complete new shift in bourbons, and you know, what's your take overall?
I think for me it is a trend. I think if you look at gin in the UK and Spain, go back 6 years ago, and you had 2 or 3 big players, and then another couple came in, and then there was an explosion, and everybody was able to sell their product, and everybody wanted gin. That's
True.
declining now.
I think that happened a little bit with Japan whiskeys as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So tequila, I believe it will continue to rise, and it will be a few more years. But I think it will peak. But there's room for everybody.
True.
You know.
True.
And RTDs. I mean, we saw RTDs 20 years ago through the roof with Smirnoff Ice, and that declined. And then we had other ones come and go and come and go.
True. Any learnings or any closing remarks for the young distillers out there?
I think in 2024, certainly in the Scotch whisky industry will be challenged. I think we've seen that the sales in on-trade and off-trade for Scotch and all spirits apart from tequila have declined. I think that will stabilise next year. They won't decline, but I don't think they'll grow, which will be a problem for the whisky industry. And they need to work smart. They need to be able to react to consumer requirements as well.
So work smart, meaning less inventory, adapt to new SKUs which are in demand, like RTDs and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Cool.